Good evening, my friend. It is so good to see you. So good to be here. I missed you. I needed to see you tonight. I am Lou Mangello. You are my friend, and I am so excited that you are watching, hopefully live. If you're watching on the replay, be sure and join us every Wednesday right here at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Thought about doing the show out tonight. The weather didn't cooperate, and neither did a lot of other things. So, relatively short show tonight, but we still have a lot of stuff to cover. If you are new, welcome. Grab a snack, get comfortable. Please introduce yourself, and better yet, tag and invite a friend to come along and tell me where you are watching from. Um, Again, I am it's been an interesting week this week. A lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about the holidays because obviously it's September, which is when the holidays usually start in Walt Disney World. But first things first, let's talk a little bit about this week's show, part two of the Music of Magic Kingdom, which has been a show. Well, it's been 1 week in the making because we did part one last week, but really been years in the making. This week we continued on to Fantasyland, Liberty Square, Mickey Storybook Circus, really Storybook Circus, Tomorrowland, and then obviously the music of the parades and shows, which will eventually transition into us into what's coming or what's not coming this holiday season. I'd love to know from you. I posted this on social early in the week. One, what did you think of the show? Two, did you listen to the show? Thank you again, Dave Rashoni, Terry Sinzendardi, for being part of it. And what is some of, now that you've heard the whole thing, what is some of the memorable music for you, whether it's background music, whether it's atmospheric music from different areas, scores, or even attraction theme song? What are some of the ones that you heard hopefully this week and sort of struck a nostalgic or emotional chord for you, and why? Because I think as much of the way smells are connected to memories, I think music for us is very evocative of emotions. And I think even more than what we see, what we hear sometimes brings up some of those memories and some of the um, um, emotional components that are connected to that. Zach Brown from the Zach Brown Show, I said, love me some Larry Carlton in the 90s, Tomorrowland background music. Zach wasn't born yet, by the way, just to be clear. Andre Rude from Canada, nice to see you. Mark from Roanoke, Virginia. Jeremy Goff says you listened to episode 2. It was great. Colorado. Let's see. Let me catch up on some other Chattanooga, Tennessee. Atmospheric, good way to put it. Princeton, New Jersey. Mark Williams. These episodes have been some of my favorites with a U because Tacey is from Canada. Tomorrowland Music Loop reminds me of the first trips with my now husband. Played it for my third grade students today. They loved it. Haunted Mansion's always going to be number one. Illuminations number 2. Illuminations still brings a tear for a lot of people for different reasons. Marcus Val, I knew I liked you. You said if you had wings, really plucks that nostalgic string for me. Kevin Cooper, Main Street BGM, Small World, Haunted Mansion. Curtis, good point. The music you hear all of a sudden when you, without even realizing that it's playing, a lot of that background music that starts to creep from the subconscious to the conscious, and then as you hear it, it really becomes another element of your experience. Because I think for a lot of times it blends in the background, especially when the parks are very crowded. It almost gets drowned in the white noise of conversation. That's why I think now is such a good time. And I'm not going to say now is the time, now is the best time, but really is. It's such a good time to go because I think it's much more visible, audible, and pronounced. Epcot Tapestry of Dreams and Nations still makes me cry every time I hear it. I love it so much. It is some of the most beautiful and I think haunting, in a good way, music from the parks. The music from Wishes. Megan, there was a lot of discussion about Wishes versus Happily Ever After. I'm with you. I'm a Wishes kind of guy. When that little girl starts singing, it hits me in all of the feels. Rich Austria, I'm also with you as far as the Tomorrowland background music is concerned. As I said on the show, I think Tomorrowland has some of the overall best and most memorable of the background music. You don't know the names of really any of the songs except maybe Bubble Shuffle, but it is not, for the most part, although now there are a few, for the most part, it has not been music that you would have heard elsewhere, unlike Main Street USA, or even Frontierland, Liberty Square, which are sort of American folk classics. Tomorrowland's music is unique for a lot of different reasons. And I think while the original set of songs, the original tracks from the early 70s were very 70s, I think both the 90s to 2003 and even the current version are really, really good. Kelly says, I can listen to Adventureland all day. I already have my husband. My ringtone takes me back to 94, my first trip. A lot of love for Haunted Mansion in here as well. Vanessa from Vancouver, British Columbia, one of my favorite cities on the planet, by the way. Beth is a big fan of both Wishes, Phantasmic, and Illuminations forever. She digs those nighttime spectaculars. Main Street Electrical Parade. Shanna, we didn't even look. We'll get to Disney Springs, but I was in Disney Springs the other day, and I agree with you. I think there's some really, really cool, and I've actually sat there with my phone and, like, back in the Shazam days, Shazam, Siri, tell me what song is this, because there's a couple of them that I just really like, and eventually you can actually find those on a Spotify playlist. I know there's a Disney Springs Spotify playlist as well. Chris Chapman, never late to the party. Happy that you're here. A lot of love for the Electrical Parade, Main Street Electrical Parade as well. That, for me, again, hits an emotional note from being a child. Becky says, get those kids out of my way and put on Wishes. That's fine. I'm extrapolating from you just writing Wishes that's really what it is that you meant, Becky Mank from Mouse Fair Travel. Behind the Waterfall, also in the old Tomorrowland loop. I agree with you. I think if you're a Tomorrowland loop fan, you sort of know a lot of those songs by name. So Christopher Manning says, the new show has grown on me, but from a music standpoint, I think Wishes wins hands down. I agree with you. I like the song choices. I like the arrangement. I think Happily Ever After has some appeal, but it's missing. From the first time I heard it, I felt like it was missing something for me, right? Because for I think a lot of people, Happily Ever After is their song. It is their theme, and obviously that's completely fine. What's beautiful about the music is it's completely subjective, and there's no wrong answer. For the most part, there's really no there's no wrong. Derek says, if you can dream it, you can do it. We'll get to Epcot. I think Epcot's going to be a fun one to record. Luis Ramos, good to see you. Adventureland is on my phone for I'm floating in the pool alone with a tropical drink. Why do you have your phone in the pool? That's not a good idea. Not smart, Derek. But Kim loves the Splash Mountain music. So happy. I agree with you. Going to be sad to hear some of those songs go away. Wonder if they'll be incorporated into the Frontierland background loop. Maybe How Do You Do? Maybe some of the other score elements from Splash Mountain. But I am very excited for the music of Princess and the Frog, which is some of my favorite Disney animated film music ever. Like, I think it's really, really that good. And when I play it in my car, I sing it in my car, which means you don't want to be in the car with me, because not. Brian Campbell digging some Magic Journeys and the creepy kids at the beginning. We'll certainly get to Epcot next. Zach Brown has Behind the Waterfall on vinyl. Zach Brown, what are you doing with vinyl? Look at you. You're an old soul. That's what I dig about you. We didn't mention Festival of Fantasy, but I do love that one too. Gosh, it seems like ages since I've seen Festival of Fantasy. I look forward to the parades and the fireworks coming back. I know, we're getting to the holidays. Don't worry. We're going to talk about that too. So, Princess and the Frog is one that grew on me more and more over time. I found Princess and the Frog, like, it really struck me very, very early on. And I don't know why, but I really, really loved that. I love that film, and I love that too. So, obviously, I want to keep more of this conversation going on social. I just posed the question on my Instagram stories today about background music. Tomorrow, if I remember, I'm going to post a question about your favorite attraction theme song, right? Because they're very different. And I think there are ones like, You Can Fly from Peter Pan's Flight that we love for the movie and the nostalgia. And there's other ones, current and extinct, like If You Had Wings, that we love because of the nostalgia. I definitely am clearly sort of locked in moments of time that I love and I miss and I remember. The music they play in Space Mountain is beautiful. The Star Tunnel music, I think, is some of the best music, not just in all of Tomorrowland, but in all of Magic Kingdom. And then certainly we're going to get to the music of Epcot. And if you thought shows 601 and 602 were long, we might have to break that one down into like future. Maybe we'll have to do that. I'll break it down into Future World and World Showcase. And I know a number of you have already reached out, and I love you so much. You've reached out and you've pled your case. You've offered bribes. I don't think I've gotten as many offers for dinner at the Boathouse in exchange for being part of either the Epcot show and somebody else asked about wanting to do the resort show, which I dig the fact that they love the background music of the resort so much. So I have a plan. You stay tuned, especially if you're in the WDW Radio Nation. We're gonna have some fun going through the rest of the parks. And something else you might have heard on this week's show too was the trivia contest, which, as you know, we've been doing maybe since show 1. Derek says the music of Boathouse. There is music of Boathouse. Wait, believe it or not, there's background music at the Boathouse, and it's background music that, and Steve, if you're here, owner Steve Schussler picked out himself. Like, he is the most like sleeves rolled up, hands on kind of owner that I have ever met. He reminds me a lot of my parents, and I like that. But this week's trivia question, not only is it not difficult, not only did I give you hints, but I also told you the answer already. If you've been paying attention to the social media stuff. I just saw Marcus says, I have such a love affair with Epcot music, Magic Journeys, Veggie Fruit, Soarin', Tomorrow's Trail Horizon. All of it is amazing. A lot of people mentioning Veggie Fruit. I'm sure it will be referred to. It may be hummed. We'll see. Anyway, part of the reason why I brought up the trivia is not just because you're not only going to find trivia on the social and daily, is because life is getting in the way. It's been less daily, more weekly, but there's just some fun trivia stuff there. But on the show, each week I've got the trivia contest, and last week was the very first time that I have a brand new prize for you, including the book and the audio tours, which is a brand new, never before seen, not available in stores, WDW Radio mug, and they just came in the mail, and there it is. So it is this beautiful, in my opinion, it is this beautiful cobalt blue, and look, I didn't even cheap out. I got the logo on both sides. So it's a beautiful cobalt blue WDW Radio mug. It's getting to be that time. It's going to start getting chillier. You put your hot cocoa, you put your hot tea, your hot coffee, your hot toddy, in Becky's case, some sort of alcoholic beverage in there, and you just show up to the show with your cup of whatever, but you can only get it if you win it. So you have until Sunday to get your answers in for this week's trivia question. Christopher Manning says, show the mug again. There it is. We've got the mug in hand. Dig the color so much. Really came out nice. So two-sided mug. There you go. So again, you play just by listening to the trivia contest each and every week. And if you can, do me a favor. Please help spread the word. All right, so we were talking about the music of Magic Kingdom. We have been talking about how the music is not just in the attractions, but in the lands, but a part of the parades, part of the nighttime spectaculars, of which they are glaringly absent from the parks. There is something missing, but that's okay because we're in there. But this week, Disney released and announced some of their plans for the holidays, which, as you know, usually get a pretty early start. This year, they are going to be starting on November 6th, but there are going to be some changes. And some of the things I want to go over is what to expect for the holidays this year from November 6th through December 30th. Now, obviously, there's going to be the seasonal food and drinks and merch, but there's going to be some new experiences and maybe some that won't be there as well. So let's start off in the Magic Kingdom. In place of the Castle Dream Lights and a Frozen Holiday Wish, where Elsa lights up the castle, there's going to be special projections on the castle with a colorful backdrop. It's going to be this rotating series of designs and Christmas sweaters and overlays of red and gold ornamentation. Instead of parades, there are going to be special character cavalcades, which we've seen elsewhere in the park, including Epcot, which I love so very much. And there's going to be some Christmas friends on some festive floats, dressed in their holiday finest, like gingerbread men, elves, reindeer, toy soldiers who are going to join the Philharmonic as they march through Magic Kingdom. In Epcot, you are going to see a slightly modified version of Festival of the Holidays. It's going to be highlights from the Festival of the Holidays. That's going to begin on November 27th, a little bit later than everything else in Magic Kingdom and other parts of the parks. Holiday kitchens are going to return around World Showcase with some of the favorite dishes like the slow roasted turkey with stuffing, etc. And in lieu of the holiday storytellers, which, yes, we're all sad aren't going to be there, World Showcase is going to have Joyful, which is a live musical act showcasing some holiday favorites, and Voices of Liberty is also going to be singing at the America Gardens Theater. There are also going to be some holiday promenades around World Showcase as well for different characters. Same thing over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. There's going to be some merry motorcades of characters. Again, the traditional meet and greets not coming back just yet. And Minnie Mouse is going to be holding a Yuletide dining experience at Hollywood and Vine, inviting some of her friends. I have a feeling Santa Goofy is going to be there to join the fun. And in Disney's Animal Kingdom, you'll have characters on the flotillas, much like you do now, but they will be dressed in their holiday best. The resorts are going to be decked out for the holidays with some changes, with a couple of losses. They will not be doing the gingerbread this year. We will get to exactly why, right? There's a reason behind everything. And then Santa is also going to be making his rounds from park to park, including Disney Springs. So you might see him in a car in Magic Kingdom. You might see him on a flotilla at Disney Springs. And there will be more announcements as the holiday season continues to approach, which means I expect more to be coming than what we have, what we already know. So what does this really mean in terms of what is here and what is gone? Much as we have been, the parades, the fireworks show, the things that attract large crowds are not back. And I mean that on a macro as well as a micro level. I know a lot of people very, very disappointed about the gingerbread displays, and they don't understand. It's not just a matter of the displays at the Grand Floridian, at the Beach Club, and people gathering in a very small, enclosed, tight space. You cannot space 6 feet apart realistically. But more importantly, those buildings, construction and baking of those buildings should have begun months ago. The holidays at Walt Disney World is a 365-day-a-year event. They are really preparing for next year's event the day the decorations come down in January, and that's not an exaggeration. And a lot of things have to be prepared, ordered, rehearsed, whatever it might be, including the gingerbread house. So I get it. You know, we also have to understand that this pandemic is not over yet, and we don't know where we're going to be in December, and you have to err on the side of caution. Am I disappointed? Sure. I love the Christmas parade. Look, I'm going to miss the Halloween parade. You know, Boo to You is Halloween is like my favorite holiday, right? I'm going to be really sad about not being able to dress up. Well, maybe I will, but I'm going to miss the Boo to You parade. I'm going to miss the Christmas parade. I'm going to miss a lot of the things, but we also have to be grateful for the fact that the parks are open. We can come back, and they are going to make it, you know, to sort of use the term, they are going to make it as magical as they can while still keeping safety first, because you cannot compromise that for any reason. And Disney, I applaud them for not when you start to get comfortable, you start to get complacent, and that's when bad things happen. And Disney cannot allow that, because the worst possible scenario is that they bring back the gingerbread houses, people are swarmed close by, and God forbid somebody gets sick. And I would rather forego those things in lieu of being able to have the holidays. I'm sure. Look, this is me. Disney has earned my trust. I know it's still going to be a special time to go. Not just because it's not 175 degrees outside, but I still think a lot of the things that we know and we love, and maybe some new things, like these little character cavalcades and these pop-up character experiences, I've really come to like, especially in Epcot, in World Showcase, with the princesses and with the Fab Four-ish. The Fab Four and a car. But I like them a lot, and I'm a rational, reasonable person. Like, I understand why these things can come back. And I just saw somebody say, Heather said, maybe they'll have a Boo to You cavalcade. I absolutely think they will do something for Halloween as well. And I think that's why Disney said they are going to be making announcements in the upcoming weeks. But you have to understand that there's a logical reason behind it. Do you really think Disney wants to disappoint anybody? Look, I when the announcements came out yesterday or whatever it was, 2020 social media, I was really disappointed at the outpouring of out and outright anger and disgust. And like, I get the frustration, but we also have to sort of step back and say, okay, there's a reason why they're doing it. There's a reason why they're not doing it, and they're putting our safety first. And that's me. It's how I view things. If you view it otherwise, that's okay. But I'm happy that at least the holidays are going to be celebrated in some way. I think Disney is going to continue to surprise us a little bit and maybe introduce some things that we hadn't seen before that maybe you're going to really come to like. And look, parades are going to, I just talked to somebody today who just moved here, and I feel so bad. They moved here like in late March, just as everything closed down. So she hasn't heard, and she lives right behind Magic Kingdom. She hasn't heard fireworks. For months, she didn't hear a boat. She hasn't seen, so she's lost out on those things, but she gets it, right? We all get it. We understand that they are going to be coming back at some time, but that time has to be right, and it's got to be safe. And I would rather forego some of those things that we have come to love to make sure that the parks remain open. And I understand, especially if you had a trip planned and you wanted to see some of those holiday things. I get it, but we will see. We won't know until it actually starts to happen. I think a lot of people, when even the parks first opened, said, well, why am I going to go? Because this isn't open, that's not open. And you've seen just how special the place has been, and in some ways even more magical, right? And I will specifically point to the cast members who have sort of turned it up to 12, not even 11. They've turned it up to 12 to really make our experiences as guests even better. So, Melanie Jones, at least the parks are open. Preach, sister. I'm with you. I'm just happy. I'm still just so happy and grateful that we can step back into the parks again. And I think, baby steps. We have to take baby steps. Look, everybody is disappointed and has lost something in many different facets, right? Some way more serious than others. But we have to sort of keep this all in perspective. Christine said, I had dinner at Spice Road. The cavalcade came by during our meal. It was so magical and so fun. I love the cavalcade in Epcot, because you can just be walking by and all of a sudden this carriage full of not one, not two, not three, but 4 different Disney princesses slowly rolls by. They all make eye contact. They all wave to you, which you don't normally get necessarily in a parade. Trust me, I know. I've been screaming out to Belle and Jasmine for years. They never look my way. It's probably the restraining order, but that doesn't matter. But I love the intimacy without sort of, again, sacrificing the safety of the princesses and certainly any of the guests as well. So I think it is the right, and it is the smart, and it is the prudent compromise. And maybe world, if we all just sort of compromise just a little bit, and were a little bit more understanding, a lot of all the bad stuff that's happening wouldn't necessarily happen. So Cassie also agrees the cavalcades are awesome. I think you get to spend, you know, some time, even again in Epcot. I don't know which one comes first. There's Mickey and Minnie in sort of that Grand Marshal car that you used to see on Main Street USA with Pluto, and they're so close. I mean, you can't reach out and hug them, and sure, I'm a hugger. Trust me, I miss the hugs. When the meets of the month come back, get ready. We're going to need to have sort of put people in two camps, the hugging group and the Lou, please don't hug me group, because I am having like hug withdrawals and I'm missing them something fierce. So Susan says, I was there last week, had such a great time. As long as the snow still happens on Main Street, Kevin, I hope it does. Again, we don't know what to expect, and I think Disney to a certain degree doesn't know. You know, December, relatively long way away, relatively short time away, but they need to make the calls now for certain things. And then as time goes on and we see, do things plateau? Are they getting better? Are they getting worse? They can introduce things as opposed to announcing something and then having to pull it back or take it away. So will I miss the gingerbread? Absolutely. Will I miss the Boo-to-You parade? Of course I will. Am I going to be thrilled to be back in Magic Kingdom at night in costume in October? You better believe it. And I'm just going to be happy to be there. And I think that is what we need to take away from all of this as well. Jeff Cheney, happy to see you're having a good time this week. More Epcot tomorrow, and then some Via Napoli. Try the white pizza with the artichokes hearts. Oh, God, it's so good. If Epcot wasn't so far away and closed, I would love somebody to come pick me up and take me there, because I'm famished and it's been a rough day and I just really, really need fat food. So that's all it is. So Melanie says it's just going to be magic for us living near the magic. Melanie, I cannot wait until we are neighbors. Yes, that is my smoke detector. The smoke detector does not need batteries. It needs to be replaced, which means I have to shut off the power, which means I cannot do it tonight, which means you are going to hear that incessant beep that has kept me up for the past 3 nights over and over and over again. And I apologize. Melanie Beatles in the hugger group. I'm going to put that as a poll in the clubhouse. Like, when meets of the month come back, are you on the hugging side or are you on the Lotso hugging side or the not so hugging side? I just made that up. And I know Lotso's a bad guy, but you understand what I mean. Not that I smell like strawberries, but whatever. It's getting weird. So I also, too, Debbie, love white pizza. Epcot is closer than Animal Kingdom. Gretchen Marie, good to see you. Glad I am here. Yeah, so I apologize. And that's like way down the hallway. Like, it's obviously really, really loud. Beatrice Dennis, I know you're on the hugging side. You've been on the hugging side for 15 years, my friend. It is lots and lots of hugs. So I dig it. But so anyway, so yeah, I'd love to hear more about your thoughts about the holidays. I will post probably this picture in the clubhouse, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're planning on coming out or down for the holidays, or does the fact that some of these things are not going to be there, does that not only disappoint you, but maybe dissuade you from thinking about going to the parks? And if you are thinking about coming for the holidays, guess what? I'll bet my friends at MEI Mouse Fan Travel can hook you up. So reach out to them. You know the deal. They will help not only answer all your questions, but give you a quote at no commitment or cost to you. And there you go. And I kind of dig them. Don't tell Becky, but I do. So let's just, I'm going to move on to my Disney Plus pick of the week this week. I know how many of you were just so incredibly overjoyed last week at my selection of The Black Hole. The Blast from the Past from 1979. An interesting selection, to say the least. You can read more about it in the Clubhouse. I'm also going to do a post, I think, on the WDW Radio blog about it as well. But last week, for my selection, I wanted to go back, way back into time. And I really thought long and hard about what direction to go in terms of the selection. And there's lots of movies and shows and series that I want to cover. But last week I decided to go way back to 1940 and Pinocchio. And it almost might seem, Becky says, what the blank did you make me watch? It was so good. It's, dare I say, Pinocchio. Wait, is Pinocchio better than Black Hole? Wait, no, you're not supposed to see that one yet. Is Pinocchio better than Black Hole? Or for some people, maybe Black Hole is better than Pinocchio. It's sort of sacrilegious to even let those words come out of my mouth. But like I said, rough day and I'm tired. So I wanted to go back to a classic that I think we've all probably seen, but maybe we haven't seen in a long time and with a different set of eyes. I think as we get older, whether it's because we have children, we get married, our relationships change, we look at some of these films with different lenses, meaning sometimes you can watch a movie and you're watching it for its entertainment value. You're watching for the actors, the music, the visual effects, whatever it might be. I think when we look back at Pinocchio, I too watched it with a different set of eyes. And what I found is that there's a lot of really interesting, fascinating facts about Pinocchio that I wanted to share with you that might hopefully enhance your appreciation of the film, because when it came out, you have to imagine that Disney had to ask themselves, like, okay, how do we top not just a game-changing, but really an industry-changing film in Snow White, right? So we've got Snow White, we've got Fantasia, and so after Snow White came out, Disney sort of moved Pinocchio very quickly to the top of the list in terms of films that they wanted to release in front of Dumbo and Bambi, which were originally supposed to be released before Pinocchio. And I think what they ended up doing was not only moving this ahead, but making sure that they took a lot of time in preparing this film. They were doing stills and drawings like 4 to 5 years before this film was released. So it was one that they very much took their time on. And, a lot of people find, and people who are way smarter and know movies way better than I do, but some of the most critical critics, not just at that time, but even today, still call Pinocchio one of, and I'm quoting J.B. Kaufman, one of the pinnacles of animation, not just Disney animation, but animation, period. Obviously, the film was adapted from the 1883 book by Carlo Collodi. And if you've ever had occasion to read or peruse some of the book, one thing about Disney's Pinocchio is there are elements of the film that are slightly dark. If you think the movie is dark, Carlo says, hold my little wooden boy, because there are very, very dark elements. At one part, Pinocchio is actually stabbed by assassins and he's hanged. Again, little bit too dark for a Disney G-rated film. Although, yes, he does survive and is later rescued, but whatever. But even the character in the book and the character that eventually showed up on screen not only were very different, but the Disney version of Pinocchio actually went through a number of different changes. At one point, he was much more sort of wisecracking, like a ventriloquist dummy, like a Charlie McCarthy type of like fresh and like. And that was a Walt thing. Like Walt wanted him to be more like Charlie McCarthy. There was also one that was a little bit more, how do I say this for a completely G-rated audience? There was one that was a little bit more grabby towards the, like he was a hugger. Let's just say he really liked hugging the blue fairy. But they wanted to make sure it really did appeal to a wide variety of and a wide spectrum of family audiences. Even Jiminy Cricket went through a lot of different changes, and his design that he ended up being, he was originally drawn sort of as this sort of very like bony little cricket figure. And Walt's like, no, like I sort of envision him like my beloved Uncle Ed. And Ward Kimball was actually tasked with changing the way Jiminy Cricket, somewhat reluctantly, ended up looking like. And they ended up basing his dress and his costume on the character from the Johnny Walker bottle. So if you look, he's got, if you look at the coat on the Johnny Walker guy, it's a lot like the coat that Jiminy Cricket wears. And that's, so who knows what they were doing while they were spending all that time late night animating the film. And plus, Jiminy Cricket was not always supposed to be the narrator. In fact, they decided to make him the narrator much later in the film process, and they had to shift a lot of the story around. And they ended up creating so much additional material for Jiminy Cricket that they had to end up cutting. They're like, look, we have enough material to make additional films where almost Jiminy Cricket could be the protagonist. Like we could make 1, 2, 3 additional films because we cut so much good stuff from the film once they made that shift to decide that Jiminy Cricket was going to be the narrator. All right, don't Google it. Promise me you won't Google this. What was the original name of Pleasure Island? What was Pleasure Island originally supposed to be named? Because it was not Pleasure Island in the original. I mean, it eventually be in the film, but that is not what the original title was going to be. It was going to be called Bogeyland, like a bogey, like silly, like a silly type land. It was going to be called Bogeyland. So I'm looking at some of the other little facts I want to share. Oh, so Figaro was actually one of Walt's favorite characters, and he actually wanted Figaro to appear in the film as much as possible for whatever reason. And at one point, because he loved him so much, he wanted Figaro to be like a little companion to Minnie Mouse and replace her dog. So like Walt really, really loved that that character. Thor Ravenscroft, we talked about him a lot this week from the music of Walt Disney World, specifically Haunted Mansion, Tony the Tiger, the Russian cat from Aristocats. He actually was in this film as well. He actually makes the noise that Monstro the whale makes. So that is a Tony the Tiger voice as well. And did you know that Pinocchio won not one, but 2 Academy Awards, and was the very first Disney film to win an Oscar for both musical categories, Best Score and Best Song, which was When You Wish Upon a Star. That wouldn't happen again until Mary Poppins in 1965. So, in looking back on the film and the story itself, I think one of the reasons why it's such an animation triumph is not just for the art and the artistry, which I think is beautiful, but it really is the story itself. It's the triumphant storytelling with that moral takeaway, and I think the fact that sort of parable of the dangers of telling a lie is something that transcends generations. I think that's why, for me, Pinocchio holds up so many years later. I think it's a very interesting way to teach kids and parents maybe a lesson. Not just, look, how many kids after they saw the film were like, I am never going to drink or smoke ever, because they were afraid of what might happen to them. I think that they were able to teach important lessons without it almost being in your face, right? Especially for kids. They don't have to sort of go and point the finger. Kids are smart enough to be able to take away. I think visually there are some spectacular scenes. And if you go back and watch it again, watch that final scene with Monstro and just even the framing of the shots where, again, Disney sort of didn't just limit it to the confines of, at the times, or the 4:3 aspect ratio. There was almost like there was action going off frame, and they were able to sort of weave that back and forth in, which normally didn't happen in animation at that time. But I think for me, it really is not just the visuals, but it's the messaging of the film. I think that's why so many people feel that way. Look, even in '94, the National Film Registry added Pinocchio, saying it was culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. And I very much believe that. And I believe it still has 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Not that Rotten Tomatoes is the barometer because there's a lot of ways to sort of, beat the Rotten Tomatoes system, but I think it speaks volumes about a film that we talk about certain animated films holding up or not holding up over time. I think Pinocchio is one of the rare films, even dare I say more so than something like a Snow White. It possibly holds up even better. And that's not to take anything away from what a groundbreaking film Snow White was for so many different reasons. But I think the visuals, I think the music, I think the morality, the takeaway, all holds up, and still has profound impacts on especially younger viewers that watch it. So I want to hear what you have to say. Michael Goldtrap says, When You Wish Upon a Star is the quintessential Disney song next to Small World. The version for the Magic Kingdom Goodbye always gets to me. Fate is kind. She brings to those who love the sweet fulfillment of their secret longing. Katie, you almost got me to sing it because it's hard to say it without actually singing it out. Sarah says, I agree. The message in the film is wonderful. Let's see. Let me go back and see. I saw a lot of your comments coming through. Becky, I know you have a very serious issue with Monstro the Whale. Listen, if you want to see Becky freak out, take her on the Storybook Land canal boats in Disneyland, because you're not going to get her on that boat. The whale freaks her out, and I don't know why. Casey Cross, it may contain alcohol and tobacco depictions. I hope it always contains, because you need to have it in there, right? And I think, again, they're in there in a way that allows kids to interpret on their own why that's bad. And I'm not judging anybody that drinks or smokes or does both. You might be drinking and smoking right now. I get it. It's 2020. Knock yourself out. But I think the fact that it's in there in a way that allows kids to make those determinations on their own is part of the reason that it should always obviously stay in there. Isn't it amazing that When You Wish Upon a Star stood the test of time and has meant so much to us all? Makes Chrissy cry, which you hear a lot of people loving. And Jiminy Cricket is one of my favorite Disney characters of all time, says Kira. I see why. And I think we all need a little Jiminy Cricket sometimes as our conscience. And again, it's fascinating to think how different that character might have looked, not just visually, but in terms of what he represented. Not to go too deep into a discussion of what he and Blue Fairy and Geppetto and Foulfellow all sort of represent. But look, even, the idea of kids walking to school, I'm sure kids are a lot more careful going to school after seeing that film than maybe they were before. Let's see. Tuxedo Cats are the best. Becky has not. Wait, now I want to see it. Becky has never seen. Becky, do your homework or you shall be punished accordingly. Let me see. Did Jiminy Cricket just become Becky's new favorite character? I enjoyed Pinocchio's daring journey. I love Pinocchio in Disneyland. I really like that attraction a lot. Again, Becky, I know you're probably thinking about the somewhat scarier version of Pinocchio that we saw in Hong Kong during Halloween. Yeah, so there you go. During Halloween, that was interesting to say the least. So there you go. So Pinocchio was our pick of the week. If you didn't watch it in time, that's okay, because hopefully you will go back, maybe even tonight. We're going to do a relatively short show tonight. Maybe go back tonight or this week or this weekend. Watch it alone, watch it with a friend, and let me know what you think. And maybe what, some of your takeaways were. Watching it with a little bit of through a little bit of a different lens. So that was last week's. I was thinking a lot about what this week's pick of the week should be. We've gone way back. We've gone, late 70s, early 80s live action. We've gone old school animation. We've done some documentary. We've done some more recent ones. And I was sort of all over the place. And I said, you know what? This is my pick of the week, but this is not a dictatorship. It's a democracy. And you know what? I thought maybe I would ask you what you wanted to watch this week. But I'm going to make it easy for you. I'm going to give you a few different options. These are ones that came across my mind in terms of possible options. I'm going to post this in the Clubhouse, and I want to know, we'll do a poll. I'll create a poll, and we'll see I'll post it as soon as the show is over tonight, and then tomorrow I will post either the winner or my decision, whatever I'm in the mood for, because a couple of these did actually make my list of films that you need to watch on Disney Plus, ones that I think would make great attractions in Walt Disney World. Michael Goldtrap Tron is absolutely coming. I can promise you that. There's a lot of films I have on the list, and certainly these were some. And I will tell you very quickly, and I can only say very little about it, but in the coming weeks, there are ones that I'm going to recommend that you see when they come out. So there's a Nat Geo one that I almost picked this week because I'm really missing me Japan something fierce. So Japan Between Earth and Sky on Nat Geo is definitely going to be on the list. If you have, or if you like, if you have teenagers, the Secret Society of Second Born Royals, I had a screener of it and I watched it with my family a couple of days ago. I'm not allowed to say anything about it, but when it comes out, it's fun. Definitely check it out. And on September 25th, you will see on the Nat Geo side, The Magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom, which I had a chance to watch. It's an 8-part series. Again, I am embargoed from saying anything about it, but it's something that you're going to want to watch. And I'll have, I may or may not have spoken to somebody who, has some thoughts about that film and that park. So stay tuned. So good stuff. Listen, I am really, really loving Disney Plus for a lot of reasons. So these are the options that I'm going to give you for this week. And I'm certainly, obviously, always looking for your suggestions as well. And I might just pick one of these because I'm really, really, really leaning towards one pretty hard. So I'm going to put it as a poll just out of curiosity, but I might just pick the one that I want nonetheless. So there you go. Lots of fun. Listen, the one thing that is just great is the parks are open again. We've got Disney Plus. We've got the Clubhouse. We've got each other. There's a lot of things. There's ways to stay connected. There's ways to stay excited about this thing, this place, the people that we love so very much. In case you didn't notice, there's no Top 5 Live this week. Life has gotten in the way, man. Life throws you snowballs and curveballs and fastballs and just did not have a Top 5 Live for this week. I promise you, I will have one again next week. You can be sure. I already have it sort of solidified in my mind what it might be. And of course, I'm always open to your suggestions for what you might want to see and hear and be part of for a Top 5 Live, as well as a topic for the show Again, the show is by, for, with, and about you. So if there's something that you'd like to hear, let me know in the group or just email me, lou@wdwradio.com. Oy. Don't forget about the trivia contest again this week. You have a chance to win one of these fancy, schmancy, brand new mugs, of which there are cases of them downstairs. And I want to see them on your desk, in your car, in your office, wherever it might be. Again, thanks as always, Becky Menken. You know I love and appreciate you now more than ever, kiddo. I look forward to not only seeing you again, but traveling with you again. We have Italy coming up this spring. We also are still planning on our Marvel Day at Sea cruise this January out of Miami. Becky and I have our little fingers crossed. So very hard. We hope that happens. If you want to find out more and join us on board, hopefully in January, you can go to www.cruise. That is going to do it for this week. Again, please don't forget to check out the all-new WDWradio.com. Spread the word. Invite your friends, not just to check out the site and the show and subscribe, but the group over on the Facebooks, in the Clubhouse. Check out the daily-ish trivia over on Instagram. And be sure to check out my auctions every week on eBay. I am in the process of taking all the things that I have collected over 40 plus years and putting them up on eBay. Every Sunday, auctions begin at and end at 9 o'clock. $1, no reserve at all. Huge thanks. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to put up a title card, but huge thanks to everybody who is part of the WDW Radio Nation family. I love and appreciate you so very much. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you and how you do so much to keep WDW Radio going. And in anything that you do, in anything that you encounter, I want you to not only choose the good, not just find the good out there, but I want you to be the good. You have the opportunity every single day with every single interaction to positively impact somebody else's life, and hopefully that'll have a continuing ripple effect. Much as the way you've positively affected me, I hope to pay that forward to other people as well. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you're watching on the replay, please join us every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Subscribe, comment, be part of the community and conversation at www.radio.com/community. So until next time, I love and appreciate you. Good night. See ya.